All right, action.
Cheers.
To the Chattanooga Film Festival.
I'm so afraid that if I clink against your glasses with this metallic beast that I'll crush them in your hands.
No fear-based living, Chris Dortch.
Well, my entire living is fear-based. I'm going to have to relearn everything. What am I going to do? It'll be fun.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So we are figuring out what's going on with the Chattanooga Film Festival. We're here at a super cool space in the Moxie, getting into all of that. First question. People have asked, when is the Chattanooga Film Festival?
I am very glad for that first question. April 11th through 14th this year. We're moving a little further into the month than we've been before to stay out of the way of Easter and spring break and all those kind of good things.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Could have been April Fool's Day then.
Could have been April Fool's Day, but that's my nephew's birthday, which is a bummer for him because we're just going to relentlessly prank him for all of his life.
What's
but
his name?
His name's Luke, which is a Star Wars thing. God bless them.
Of
They
course.
did that.
Well,
yeah.
Isn't everything about Star Wars, like life?
It is, yes, often lately, especially in my world.
Mine too.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so let's get into some of the films,
Sure.
The local filmmakers, the
Let's
genres.
Let's go back a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, go back.
Sorry.
I'm
Quick
gonna
history.
get this off of
Sure.
It's fairly new.
It is fairly new, although for us it's year 6, which is we don't know how
That's a big deal.
we've managed to hang around so long. It's about God. I moved back to Chattanooga in 2001, and I had been making my living as an industrial filmmaker in Nashville, shooting like awkward Nissan commercials for local dealers and like Allstate, insurance sexual harassment training seminar videos. And getting to work in film, but not getting to work in the side of film that I really loved. And I came back to Chattanooga because there was another production company starting out here that promised me a little more creativity and a little more freedom. And when I came back, even though our arts community had moved by leaps and bounds from when I had lived here as a kid, because I grew up here, it still wasn't really bringing film along for the ride. Or even if it was, the movies you would get to see that were quote-unquote independent films or international films were movies that were Oscar nominated or big things. And every year there's thousands and thousands of films made. Every year only a handful of them are nominated for the awards, and those aren't necessarily all the best films.
No.
So to me, or really, it wasn't necessarily a showcase of all types of cinema. And I love a little bit of everything, music and film, and I wanted to try to create something that was a little more eccentric, was a little more representative of everything out there, and also something that didn't forget about, local filmmakers either.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk about this, because when you came back, there was a lot of energy and effort being put forth by several people
Absolutely.
to create a film festival here.
Sure.
It was much talked about. The city, through Missy
difficult.
Crutchfield and her department, were trying to make Chattanooga and Tennessee as a whole a place where filmmakers would come and make movies. So there was a lot going on, but it never really seemed to find traction. And then within a few months of each other, you started this. Our friend and former colleague Andy John started.
Sure, we love Andy. Andy's
Wild Film
Look Out Wild,
Festival,
sure enough,
Film Festival, and then both of them just seem to find homes and audiences
And there's women in leadership involved too.
Almost our entire staff, Bex, can tell you're women. I'm one of the only. My dad is literally one of the only other men that works for us, and it feels right. It honestly always has.
We got that in there. So 6 years is a relatively short time.
It feels like a blink. Yeah.
To have done what you guys.
It's like having a baby.
It's sort of like that, although I cannot relate to that
Like
at all.
Rosemary's Baby?
Oh, well, there you go. Look at you turning it back around to film. This is beautiful.
I went to film school.
Did you?
Yeah, at Florida State.
That's amazing. We always have films from Florida State filmmakers in, so that's a great program.
The director at the time did Poison Ivy, like the old Drew Barrymore.
I'm a huge. Wait, was that Kat Shea?
No, this is aging me. I'm forgetting.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, that's we literally on the desk at the Chattanooga Film Festival office is the Poison Ivy box set that just came out.
It's amazing.
It's a lot lot of fun. Yeah, it's aged like fine wine. That era of Drew Barrymore's film career.
That's like it's so bad that it is beautiful.
It's pretty magical for sure.
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt forever. Todd Skerritt's mustache is an inspiration to us all.
Much like another wonder, magical darkness-ish, Crispin Glover.
That's
is
right.
coming here.
That's right. And Crispin's one of those guys.
He catches you.
He really does. I don't think people realize what an unusual presence in film Crispin Glover is.
I
like,
do.
And I mean, yeah, exactly. It's
Back
like
to the
and real
Future.
life.
exactly. Well, it's like if
Yeah.
you've seen him on Letterman, if you've seen him as Marty McFly's dad, or even in Oliver Stone's The Doors movie
Yes.
as Andy Warhol, you get a sense of it. But
Yeah.
as a filmmaker himself, what Crispin is doing is not of this earth.
So what is he doing?
He's doing a couple of things. He's doing a thing called Crispin Glover's Big Slideshow, which is a indescribably bizarre vaudeville slideshow of sorts that also kind of ties in with books that he's put together, and there'll be a book signing too. But we're also showing one of his 2 movies, and I love the titles of his 2 movies, and I say them every chance I get.
Okay.
The one is What Is It, and the one that we're showing is my favorite. It is fine. Everything is fine. And it's just. You're familiar with Crispin, so you kind of know what you're getting yourselves into. He's one of those guys that, for us, is kind of like a little bit like Joe Bob is sort of a patron saint of what we do. He's been in these big, high-budget blockbusters. He's been in movies that, had like a dime for a budget and all points in between. So we love to celebrate the entire spectrum and also things that are a little left of center. And
I can't wait to see him like rolling into
It's
Chattanooga.
nuts.
Like where is he gonna go? He will be.
yeah.
I'm very
he will
curious
be
to know
seen.
myself.
He will
Yeah.
be seen.
Yeah.
We gotta get an interview with him. Could
That
you
would be
help
fun.
us out?
I believe we can
We
work
can
on
try.
that. Yeah.
Particularly depending on what his travel is.
Yeah.
Of course,
We'll work
the
around.
celebrity
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
I think he would be cool though.
Oh, he's a cool dude. Yeah.
So he will be here, he says. And then let's talk about some of the filmmakers, local people,
Sure.
and the different genres too.
Sure. Well, in terms of local filmmakers, even though we try, and again, in a 4-day event, we get, maybe 30 to 40 slots for feature films, 50 or 60 for shorts if we're lucky. We wanted to make sure there was always a place carved out in our lineup for Tennessee, and that we were always loving and respecting local filmmakers and, trying to fan the flames. And to kind of go back to what you were talking about a minute ago, Barry, how I got into this role in a weird way is I got brought in during sort of the death throes of the Chattanooga Film Society's
Right.
board. And there was a lot of, everybody wanted a film festival and there was a common goal, but there was a lot of, lone wolfery as opposed to kind of sled dogging together. And it was really important to us that we were not ignoring all of those outcries for
Sled dogging was
Yeah,
important.
sled dogging. You can
Yeah.
snow dogs it if you want to take it to Disney territories.
I like that.
But yeah, exactly. But it was a situation where, as much as we wanted to create a festival that sort of stood with the South by Southwest and the Sundances of the world that had that kind of quality programming, it couldn't forget about what made us unique, which to us, the town, the city has always been our secret weapon.
And it's getting
Yeah.
better. It's
It
getting
really
better.
is.
That's a good,
Yeah.
for
Cheers
people
to
who have
that.
Yeah.
gone,
No breaks.
It's getting better.
it's not just, because anybody could get a room and show a bunch of films.
Absolutely.
But you're right, you
Barry,
you
that
guys
sounds
have,
crazy. We are at the Moxie. Okay.
well, yeah.
You could get a room at the Moxie. Barry's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys have integrated the city. And I know people will remember when Elijah Wood was here.
Sure.
He was everywhere.
He was.
The joke became who didn't get their
We
Cool.
loved it. And you know what's
So
great?
cool.
It's
Yeah.
so cool to have somebody like that come in and to give them a list of recommendations. And like for this year, we're working with the North Shore Merchants Collective. And
Cool.
there is an unbelievable group of small business owners that are all helping us dream up ways.
Can we get a DeLorean?
God, trust me, we've been looking for
Okay.
a DeLorean. We're on the hunt for the
Can we
DeLorean.
throw some fire on the streets?
We can act. Why not? Bex, is that okay? We can do fire on the
Sorry,
streets.
Mayor
I'm down.
Burke.
Yeah, it's
It's
Mayor
just
Burke
an
loves
idea.
movies. He's gonna like
Yeah,
it.
okay.
So
This
Have
is
fun.
fun. That's cool.
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be fun.
Now it's funny because even the Bobby Stone Film Festival at the Tivoli
Bobby.
has adopted this same attitude of just like,
Yeah,
can we
I've-
get a DeLorean? It's like, can we get Uncle,
Can we
Uncle-
get a Lady Gaga?
And you know what?
I
That,
wish.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because there's another cross section that shows you that cinephiles love a little bit of everything. Look at what's
Yeah.
been on display, and you got everything from '80s classics to something the entire family can enjoy, and
Yeah.
every one of those has been packed out.
Yeah,
and
they're doing the Mr. Rogers on Wednesday.
man, it's such a just bring an entire box of tissues with you if you go if you haven't seen it.
Really?
It's amazing.
Oh no, know.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
know.
watching This Is Us.
Oh God, I can't. Yeah,
Can't do
no
it
more. That's
anymore.
like there's like PTSD
You'd have to have
involved.
more of
yeah.
the wine from the Moxie to do that. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other. You guys have had horror. There's gonna be some more horror.
Yeah.
I know my really good friend Emma.
Yeah.
I am sorry, I never pronounced her last name correctly, but she was to Chattanooga and moved to Miami. She was a lawyer here, became a filmmaker, and she's involved.
We have a
That's
lot
cool.
of stories like that. I'm really
Yeah.
glad you brought her up because
Mm-hmm.
we find people, this has happened at least once every
It's cool.
year. Like there's a
Stories.
guy who proposed to his wife on our boat party last year. Or
Cool.
there's people who come down here and they get on the ground and go back to their day job after the festival is over, and suddenly the non-creative thing that they were doing isn't quite doing it for them anymore. And Emma's a great example. She'd been a lawyer at an incredibly young age. What she's accomplished at her age is insane. But she loved movies and loved entertainment, and that wasn't going to do it anymore. And as she started to make the shift to entertainment law, she started to talk to us about how she could be a part of the festival.
Yeah.
And I'm even now working with her on a film project that we can't talk about much yet.
Yeah.
But
Cheers, Emma. She wanted to be here.
of
She's
course.
busy.
But yeah, it's another great example of a person that the passion for this thing, because everyone, not a lot of people understand this or know this, everyone at CFF's a volunteer. Every hour that's put in is put in because we love this and we want this to exist in our town. It's, it's not because we have one of those budgets that we've been reading
Right.
about that sound incredible.
People are definitely buzzing about it. I was saying that I was actually meeting Emma. I was like, my friend's really involved with the film festival, and this guy who's very interested in film festival was like, what's his name? I'm like, she.
Yeah.
Her name is Emma.
Rookie mistakes, sir.
So, yeah, but so are there a lot of women filmmakers? Are there a lot of young filmmakers? Like, what's that looking like?
We genuinely, from year one, have always tried to make sure as often as possible that there are as many films represented by women as men. We've also, our first year best director was a woman. Our best director last year was a woman. And
Cool.
I will say this, I don't love it when film festivals or events do these women in film nights or things
Right.
like that. To me, it should always be
Be
there.
like-
It has to be a part of
Yeah.
your lineup. It's a thing that needed to be a part of it from moment one. The same with international cinema. I don't believe that you're a film festival worth your salt if you're not showcasing movies from people of every, country, creed,
diversity
LGBT
group.
cinema,
Right.
every bit of that. We try to get the best of it. And that's not to say that every year we grab things in all those categories just because they're available. The movies still have to be great. We're still curating great cinema, but making sure from the inception that was always a part of our lineup is a huge deal.
Before we get more into the lineup,
Sure.
for the person who's not been to one of these,
Sure.
again, maybe they're thinking, I don't know what they're thinking.
I don't know what they're
people through
thinking.
a day, I
Yeah.
say because again, you have events, you're gonna have some here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just a one location type of thing. It's
Not at
just
all.
a one
Yeah.
cinema. There are extracurriculars you plan after parties.
Oh,
and
totally.
Before
Like,
parties. And
the
people get
screenwriter
together.
of Marvel's Doctor Strange is doing a live Dungeons and Dragons contest with
Cool.
Chattanooga whiskey involved. So it's to give you things like that. One of the great things about film fans is they tend to be, in my experience, very open-minded people, and there's so much that makes a good film. There's comedy in some films. There's music, exactly, and so all of those things sort of have this.
Music.
Exactly. I'm glad you're wearing your Heavy Metal T-shirt, by the way, because this year is
What is
very
it?
a
What
very.
is it?
I didn't get
Yeah,
the memo.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Did we? I don't know
You
that I got the
look rock
memo.
and
I just
roll.
dressed this way,
You look
so
like
Yes.
Lester Banks.
that's beautiful.
Yes.
And Lester Bangs is a hero of mine,
Yes.
so that's a
Mine too.
fine
I
compliment.
read his quotes when I'm feeling down.
That's a really good motivational
Yeah.
poster that I need in my
Yeah.
life, Lester Bangs. But yeah, I really feel like if it wasn't eclectic, and again, I'm not gonna sit here and speak ill of any of the other events in our city, but there are a lot of events that are, they're not necessarily my cup of tea. And every year at Riverbend, I've seen Alex Chilton, I've seen some unbelievable acts that meant the world to me at Riverbend, but there wasn't ever an event that felt like it was a little stranger, or for somebody, like myself. And I tried to create something that it really did have a little bit of something
Yeah.
for everybody. And not only that those things cross-pollinate in a way that people start to realize they have more similarities with people they didn't even realize,
Yeah.
and it creates friendships.
As we're saying that, I really think that talking about how 6 years and how quickly things happened, I think that what you're saying mirrors the city in the last little bit.
I totally agree.
Everyone
yeah.
realized that hang gliders or mountain climbers also eat.
Yeah,
also
they
like
sure
music.
do. Yeah, that's
And,
a thing.
and music,
They like to watch
music
movies.
is so huge here. That's
Right,
like
it's become,
most
but
of our job
I think
is
it's that-
covering.
I see them. Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
do such a great job with
It's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I was
But
just in San Francisco. There was not nearly as much live music in businesses. Like you can
Sure.
go to a show, but not like here. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
But it's
it's
not just that show, it's the fact now that you can eat, go to
Yeah.
a movie, find out something else. Like the collaborations you're talking about,
Yeah.
that didn't happen 6
You're
seven,
so
eight, nine
right. I
years
can't
ago.
tell
Now
you
it does.
how many people that are booking their plane ticket or their hotel for the festival and ask us for hiking recommendations, or
That's
say,
cool. That's cool.
I've heard there's a world-class Italian restaurant there. What's the
Yeah.
name of it again?
Oh,
Or things-
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So it's like
Yeah.
there's always things that
I know, I'm impressed.
yeah,
They've
supplement
done
their
for-
experience here. And if we're letting them have that well-rounded experience, that's why we're even doing things like, we always take filmmakers to places that are like very Chattanooga-centric. Like we're taking them back to Rock City this year, which is
Okay.
like, you can't sell Chattanooga in a more interesting,
You go to the new Gate 11 in the Choo Choo.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible. So it's like things like that show them that we're not just, like you said, movies being screened in a room. This is a full,
What-
hopefully immersive experience.
What they
Like,
find, and we hear it all the time, is you can literally park your car where you're staying and walk to most everywhere.
Which is
It's
incredible.
no other
Blows their
city. Like
minds.
getting around San Francisco last week,
Right.
I was like, oh my,
Yeah.
like an hour to drive 10
and not only that,
miles,
parking, I'm
and
sure,
the
is
money,
like $50
just
to, yeah.
everything. So it's cool, definitely. I wanted to ask you, in the last 6 years, was there a film featured here that really blew up? That like in its own
There's a bunch of
regard?
things. For example, we showed a great movie called The Babadook that when we showed it, they weren't even really putting it in very many theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's blown up to be one of the, I guess, kind of new cult classics of the horror genre.
Okay.
Then a few years ago, we showed a mockumentary called What We Do in the Shadows. That's a hilarious, like,
Sexy.
it's like the real world if the real world's cast members were cranky vampires
I
instead
love
of.
that.
So it's
I
this like
love
very
that.
goofy comedy, and it's the
That's
guys
cool.
from Flight of the Conchords, and the
Okay.
director went on to make Thor Ragnarok. So
Okay.
he's gone on to some
That's
very big
cool.
things. But that movie is now in a couple of weeks premiering as a television series on FX. So even the films have kind of evolved into other mediums
Awesome.
and things.
What was
like,
the film, Chris, that you guys had the rooms built at the Discovery Museum?
Oh man, I'm glad.
That was incredible.
So we had a movie called Dave Makes a Maze,
That's
which
what
is
it is.
it's literally there's a
Remember.
guy who's kind of down on his luck and sad about his life, and one day he just starts building this enormous cardboard maze, and before he knows it, it becomes bigger than him. It literally becomes alive,
Alive.
and he's trapped in it by a
Awesome.
minotaur. And we brought in.
Everything he brings
Yeah.
comes alive and be,
So we there's a local artist, and it's not even just fair to call him an artist. He's like, I think, our Chattanooga MacGyver. It's Eddie Bridges, who works at
Oh, yeah.
JJ's, incredible guy.
He had something going on
Yeah.
last night, I think.
He always
Like a
does
trivia?
He's the trivia,
Yeah.
the lord of all Chattanooga
Cool.
trivia is Eddie Bridges.
Yeah.
So we went to Eddie and said, hey, Eddie, we've got this movie. There's a maze in it. How would you feel about recreating a section of the maze? And the next thing I know, I walk into the aquarium, and
The
he's
Discovery
rebuilt it
Museum.
all.
Yeah.
Discovery Museum.
Yeah, we actually did the aquarium that year for our opening night. Yeah.
what I saw was it in the
Oh.
Discovery.
Maybe that wasn't us, because we haven't done anything over
Your
there.
memory.
IMAX.
IMAX, yeah.
The
Yeah, no, there you go.
memories.
Yeah.
They're all
So
the
much
same.
Yeah,
going
you're right.
on.
They're in the
So
same
much
block.
going
It's
on.
I
fine.
knew where I was.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it was amazing.
It really was.
the
for
maze
an
was
hour.
amazing.
It was amazing.
You did that on purpose.
See what I
Yeah,
did there? But it was for like
Good.
an hour. Then he tore it all down, right?
Yep, but it's one of those things. The festival feels like
Yeah.
that. It feels like we spend a year, giving birth to this baby that then immediately dies 4 days later.
Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
But
so
that baby wouldn't
we've
have
got to
died.
give Rosemary's Baby an incredible 4-day life before we
Yes.
bury it in the ground and start on the next year's
Right,
babies.
and then
So, which is a deeply dark metaphor, and I apologize.
Oh,
so,
don't apologize.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all in fun. It's
Yeah.
all in fun.
Yeah.
So it's April 11th through
14th.
At the theater center.
And also here at the
And
Moxie,
also
yeah,
here.
And
which
here at
there's a
Moxie.
free shuttle in between, talking
Cool.
about that ease of travel around
And there'll
town.
be special drinks at the Moxie for the CFF, and also there's some cool opportunity that you could get to Go
So
Bex.
Emma has actually been a really key person in kicking this off, but we have a private donor program.
Mhm.
So if you love what CFF is doing and you want to contribute, we have tiers on our website, chatfilmfest.org.
Chatfilmfest.org.
You can go there, check out the different tiers, and it ranges from $25 and up. And now until March 15th, you have the opportunity to double your rewards. So if you donate, say, $25, which gets you 2 tickets to a film, you could potentially get 4 tickets to a film.
And
So-
she was telling me,
And just like everything else we do, we didn't just create tiers that were very normal, sort of
Right.
run-of-the-mill things. There's
it's
some
like
truly
you can, like,
bizarre
have
stuff.
the screen to
Yeah.
like break up with somebody.
We will allow you
or,
to
like,
break up with a
have the
significant other or
screen-
propose to them or put a special message before
Right.
a movie.
That's cool. We need
will
to
bake you cookies,
we need
very
to-
literally, that's in there. And if you do it during
Yeah.
the double week, that's double cookies.
Okay.
So that's
Cool.
solid math.
I like that.
So
Yeah.
there, Rebecca is the voice you were here, and I hope it picked up. But if you go to their Chattanooga Film
Fest.
Chat Film Fest.
Chatfilmfest.org.
there's an opportunity to double
You could,
up. You
you
can become
know,
a private
you could
private donor, and you can get double
just tell
benefits.
somebody
So-
goodbye and get a screen.
Yeah,
or
you know,
hello.
It's even though Chattanooga is a really progressive town and there's a lot happening for the
It's fun.
arts, it's more and more difficult every year
And
to create
yeah,
an
to
arts
fund
event.
everything
So
is a huge
this is
deal.
a way to try to make sure we can keep the lights on and at the same time we can keep it fun.
Yeah,
and that,
somebody's got to pay for it.
yeah, we're not asking anybody for anything without giving them something back in return.
Well, that's nice.
Potentially something that's baked
That's
with love
nice.
from our hearts.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow, that's so deep.
yeah, exactly. That's how I do.
One last question. What's like your favorite indie film, small or big, that's happened in the last couple of years?
My favorite indie film thing that has happened, small or big, is these events.
Oh, cool.
Easily, yeah. I just really think they represent the change in the city, the growth in the city, the attitude in the city, that whole collaboration thing.
Yeah.
We've talked about it with bands
Mm-hmm.
on our Music Wednesdays
Yeah,
thing, but it's
so
not just
cool.
that. The idea, I think you and I talked about it weeks and weeks ago. If you have a crazy idea, you pick up the phone, you ask somebody, and now
Keep moving.
For us,
More
it's even
times out of nine.
Yeah.
Twitter. Like one of the things that I always encourage people to do when they start creative projects, or even something like starting a film festival, is to write fan letters. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you, like the reason Joe Bob Briggs is our opening night again this year is because 7 years ago I wrote him a very sincere fan letter,
Yeah,
and
you
the guy
never know.
never left. You know,
That's
he's
how,
still with us. So.
I became friends with Richard Roper. He's a
That's
critic,
super cool.
Because
Big
I
fan, yeah.
I had a friend who was a movie critic and was like, I know him. You should just email him. And now like I'm friends with him. I see him when I go to Chicago. We
Yeah.
talk about shop.
Reaching
It's
out
cool.
and being sincere
Yeah,
are like the two
and I
best
always
things.
have read
Yeah.
his reviews since I was a kid.
It's crazy.
And,
Same.
like,
He's been part of my
agreed
life
with everything.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, he's cool. He'll tell me movies that other critics don't really like, but he's like,
Yeah.
screw it, I liked it, and then
Yeah.
I'll like it. Yeah, like a lot of Johnny Depp stuff, but I'm not like a fan of him anymore. Anyway,
I get that.
my favorite independent movie in the last couple of years was the Three Billboards movie.
Three Billboards is great. It
Yeah.
really, really is. I really love of a filmmaker who's now starting to get a lot of accolades for his work, a guy named Yorgos Lanthimos.
Okay.
And to give
Good
you a little
name.
history with this guy, he made a movie called Dogtooth a few years ago, which was nominated for an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Greek director. Just made The Favorite.
Okay.
And so
Yeah,
when
I
I
haven't
started
seen
out
it
showing
yet.
this guy's movies, I was in a warehouse in collective clothing in St. Elmo.
Crazy.
And it's crazy to have independently licensed this movie and then watch this guy's career go to, Olivia Colman and quite a few wins
There
on the
is.
Oscars the other night. So I love
Yeah.
seeing trajectories like that. I also love the opportunity to do anything that's a little like kind of P.T. Barnum-esque with what we do. So we've done things like bring in cat circuses over
So
the years.
That was
or
a great movie last year too.
Ketty, yeah.
Like, Hugh Jackman
Oh,
movie.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
The
Sure.
Barnum movie.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good.
You're talking about The
My
Greatest
kids
Showman.
love it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. He's great. I love
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, anything we get a chance to do something that's so unique that people continue to email us about it over the years, like
You pay attention.
last year we had a movie about a cult called The Endless, and we told people they were going to have to join a cult to watch the screening. And we had a character from the movie, an actor from the film, one of the producers in fact, dress as his character in the movie and pass out what we called ascension wafers, which were really little lemon cookies we made, and convinced everyone in a very probably too Jim Jonesian fashion that they were about to watch something really crazy. And to the credit of every human being in that room, they all popped those wafers and they watched that movie with us. And
Yeah.
so when you create some kind of bizarre communal experience like that and everyone's sort of drinking the Kool-Aid together, that's what this
fun.
is all about for me. Not, bad things happening after the Kool-Aid.
Aren't you
Right,
finding
right.
like
Yeah.
the
journey.
directors, producers, the people you ask, they like being pushed and silly and whatever.
They
Just
do, and you don't
human
get a
beings.
chance to do that. When you're
Right.
doing these press junkets, people are asking you the same five
Same
questions,
thing.
which is not
Been on
you
the
guys.
other
This has
side.
been great,
Yeah.
but
we
you
try
know.
to be real. We try to be real.
That's great, and that's what
Just
things
have fun.
need. And
Yeah.
so, by giving people a chance to be goofy and be themselves and be authentic, I think that's also been one of our secret
I think
weapons.
that's a huge part
Yeah.
of it.
That's what I
And
always
you've
tell
been that way
people.
from the start.
About
Thank you.
any sort of art, like if you can just be yourself, and that's very difficult.
I had to stop drinking
Yeah.
through the straws in this drink because they
Yeah.
were squeaking during
Yeah.
the interview,
Oh
and I
my
was like,
gosh.
I'm gonna ruin the sound.
Your
Yeah.
drink matches your
I know, right?
your velvet attire. Okay, let's cheers to this. Anything else you want to tell the people?
I would just
Anything
say
else?
also cheers to the Moxie, who have
Rebecca,
been
did
they're
you get
a
everything?
relatively new addition
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean-
city, but they have been over
It's fun.
backwards. And when we came here and explained all the bizarre shenanigans that we wanted to host at their hotel,
You're down.
they said yes. Where do we sign?
Get
and
Moxie.
I think
Get
that's
Moxie.
incredible.
That's what we get all
So-
the time. I've
Yeah.
never had anybody say no.
Yeah, I also love that
Wow.
there's some hotels you check into and they give you a cookie, which I love cookies. I'm not hated.
You love.
But when you
That's funny.
check into a hotel and they immediately hand you a cocktail, that's home.
I like the
so-
I like some champagne.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Anything else?
Badges.
Yeah.
Badges.
Badges.
We don't
are
need no
available.
stinking
What
Well, you
badge?
do need badges
Okay.
for
Okay.
CMF.
that's
We need
that's a
Pay
movie
attention.
quote though. I'll
Pay
accept that.
attention.
One of
Yes.
the finest
We don't
films of all
need-
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell them.
It's not the one
Tell them
people
what it
think,
is.
right?
That's the Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and that's
There you go.
Walter Houston, John Houston's own father.
So we
delivers that.
do
Great
need
scene.
badges.
You do need
Okay.
badges for the festival. There's different levels, so you can get like an all-out badge, gets you into everything. We've got ones just for the weekend, if you've got like the day job thing that's keeping you from having fun. We've got the Dabbler, which gets you into 4 films,
Dabbler.
or you can get individual
Yeah.
tickets that'll be released closer to
you can
the
tailor
festival.
it.
Totally, and there's even a free screening that's happening. We wanted there to be an opportunity to take part in this festival if you had $5 in your pocket, or if you wanted to help us kind of keep the lights on, like I said, and splurge for a VIP badge. So we've even created stuff like the Dabbler, with the fact that there might not be enough time for someone in their weekend to see more
Okay.
than a couple of things, and the Dabbler allows you to get into any 4 films, and that was a way for us to kind of make the price point even cheaper for someone who just wanted to come out and dip their toes into the water, because we find when people come and see just 1 or 2 things with us, they wind up getting a badge the next year
Yeah.
and kind of becoming part of the family.
So you can go on all the social media and type in Chattanooga Film Festival, or the website is chatfilmfest.org.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Thanks. This was
Thank
fun.
you guys. Yeah, it was really
It
fun. Thank you guys.
Always
Yeah.
Okay.
is. Thanks, Chris. Thanks,
Okay.
Rebecca.
It's fun.